Off Brazil, the crew of Edmond de Rothschild have just announced that their trimaran has suffered major damage to her steering system. Charles Caudrelier and Erwan Israel are currently attempting a repair that'll get them to Martinique and preserve their third place in the Ultim class. On the other side of the ocean, off Portugal, the battle is raging. Relative to the size of the ocean, the gaps between the boats are minute. The Class 40s are racing towards the trade winds. Ah, that feels good. That's the mood today. There are clouds, the sea has settled down, Jenica's up. We've got a few squall clouds, but we still need to trim the sails, so don't fall asleep. We're spreading out. There's wind, we're going fast, and Interinvest are upwind. As for the IMOCAs, they have Madeira in their sights, but nobody's making a break. I get the impression that there's a bit of a non-aggression pact in the IMOCA class. Nobody wants to go looking for lows, so we're putting it off too. After the tough start to the Transat Jacques Vabre, conditions aboard are improving. A little coffee, 15 knots of wind, we're really moving. The rankings at 1700, there's no change at the front of the Class 40s, with the fleet still led by Achille Nebou and Gildas Mahé aboard Amaury. Solidaire en Peloton remains in the lead of the Ocean 50s as Thibaut Vauchel-Camus and Quentin Vlaming are lengthening their stride towards Cape Verde. Charal is still the solid leader of the IMOCA class. Only Paprika Kea is managing to keep up with a hellish pace set by Jeremy Bayou and Frank Camas. And in the Ultim class, following damage to Edmond de Rothschild, the battle for victory will now come down to a head-to-head between Banque Populaire and SVR Lazartigue.
Has the Ultim race to Martinique seen a change in supremacy? Racing in the southeasterly trade wind of around 13 to 17 knots, some 250 miles offshore of the northeast corner of Brazil, Transat Jacques Vabre Normandie Le Havre, Ultim race leaders, Armel Leclerc and Josse, Maxi Banque Populaire XI, have less than 2,000 nautical miles to make to the finish line off Fort-de-France, Martinique. They maintain a lead of just over 55 miles ahead of nearest rivals, François Gabart and Tom Laperche, SVR Lazartigue, and continue to have a small speed advantage in the unsettled, gusty wind. Increasingly it seems as if the long-time Ultim winning streak of the Maxi Edmond de Rothschild might be coming to an end. Charles Caudrelier and Erwan Israel are over 200 miles behind Leclerc and Laperche. Correspondingly, it seems Armel Leclerc's run of bad luck on Transat races may be coming to an end. Recall that exactly 1 year ago his solo Route du Rhum was marred by damage which required him to make an extended pit stop into Lorient, and 2 years ago Maxi Edmond de Rothschild, sailed by Caudrelier and Frank Camas, had a 400 miles lead. On second-placed SVR Lazartigue, this morning, Laperche reported, "Everything is going well. I shared the work with François during the night, so I got some sleep. The sea is flat calm and the sun is coming up. There isn't much wind, but it's nice enough. We should stay with 15 to 20 knots of wind. The doldrums are ahead of us. Along the equator, there is a narrow band of wind between the equator and the exclusion zone. We are going to try to get through there, but it is going to take a lot of maneuvers. If there was a miracle recipe for catching Banque Populaire, we'd be doing it. They are going well, but we remain motivated and are working hard. We are going to do all we can to get back up with them. The heat isn't a problem, as these boats are fast and generate an apparent wind. If we open the window, it is well ventilated and we are spending a lot of time outside in any case. Today, there will be a lot of maneuvers. As for our ETA, let's just say sometime between Sunday and Monday. The proposed ETA for the first Ultim is the 12th of November. The IMOCA, Team Bayou is on fire. Jeremy Bayou and Frank Camas, Cheryl, explained this morning that they felt they were starting to emerge from the band of high pressure and light winds, which slowed the leading group of IMOCAs through yesterday and last night. Their spirits are high, not least because stablemates Justine Metros and Julien Villian, who race Teamwork.net, the former Cheryl under the Bayou Racing project management colours, are up to second, though partly because they are furthest to the west and closer to the rum line. Mars said, "We just picked up some wind this morning. We were on the edge of an area of calms. The goal is to find the trade winds, but the weather pattern to the south is complicated and we'll be dealing with that tonight. We've been looking at the situation for 3 days. There are routes through to the west, but the problem is they are very complicated with fronts and transition zones to deal with and for what gain. It looks like the fleet will head further south, so we are looking at that." Britain's Sam Goodchild and his French co-skipper Antoine Coe are up to fourth on, For the Planet, not far ahead of Sam Davies and Jacques Bartel, Initiatives Co. On teamwork.net, Villian noted it is not as easy as for Charles to make the most of this westerly option, as they can sail at a closer angle and make gains. Passing Cape St. Vincent, a lot of thought is being given to a westerly option. Race meteo supplier Christian Dumard's routing suggests that this could save them 24 hours, but looking beyond the overall strategy, there is the question of tactics and positioning, and Charles is unlikely to want to be the first to try something different. "We've been looking at the situation for 3 days. There are routes through to the west, but the problem is they are very complicated with fronts and transition zones to deal with and for what gain," said Frank Mars. "We just need 12 to 13 knots of wind when reaching to keep going and be up on our foils. We can get up to 17 knots, which is 5 less than downwind. In the past, it was twice as fast. So that changes strategy. So it may be the older boats that cannot fly that will be the first to attempt that option." Louis Duck and Remy Aubrun, Fives Group Lantana Environment, were the first to change tack this morning, taking with them a group of 5 IMOCAs. Pip Hare and Nick Bubb, who took their penalty and fashioned a mainsail repair at the same time yesterday, are also headed west in 20th place. "We are heading west to cross a mini front this morning and hopefully then we can go south again. It is warmer now but no drier. It was a massive job to repair the mainsail, really massive, so it took us 4 hours and then we had to get back to the gate. We cannot use the main at full hoist upwind, and need to have 2 reefs upwind, which means we were slow in the lighter winds. But now we are footing into this front, and we can go faster again, and that is the way it will be for this race. We are giving it a go with this repair. Effectively the leech split, and so we have attached carbon plates to the top and bottom of the split and stitched it together using Dyneema cord around the plates. It is a super big job, and looks like Frankenstein's monster right now," said Pip Hare this morning. Vendée Globe champion Yannick Bestaven and co-skipper Julian Pulve have confirmed they will not restart the race on Métro 5. They stopped with mainsail damage, but discovered more serious structural problems. One of the structural bulkheads broke after the slamming we suffered passing Ushant, where we recorded speeds of 25 knots at 70 degrees from the wind in 3 to 4 meter high waves. The boat really suffered. We have taken the difficult decision to retire from the Transat Jacques Vabre Normandie Le Havre. It's very sad for us, but even with the best will in the world, repairing a bulkhead would take a lot of time, and would only be a temporary repair. If we set off again, we would not be able to get the most out of Métro 5. On top of that, looking at the charts, weather conditions on a northern route would be worse than those at the start, and via the south, the trade winds are not there. We will bring the boat safely back to La Rochelle when conditions allow us to do that, and Métro 5 will then go into the yard. Our goal now is the Vendée Globe, so we need to look ahead to 2024. The ETA for the first IMOCAs is predicted to be the 18th of November. Now the Class 40s have a new leader. Less than 200 miles to the Porto Santo Madeira mark, the leaders of Class 40 are now ex-Figaro aces Achille Nebaut and Gildas Mehi, on Amaris, the Lombard Lift V2, which won the Route du Rhum last year, in the hands of Johan Richem. The fleet is spread out over more than 400 miles, but battle at the front is intense. Forced around Porto Santo, there is a positioning war going on at the front of the fleet, which has seen the advantage go to those out to the west. Achille Nebaut said, "I wanted this start to the race, windward of the fleet and a bit ahead. Leader in the rankings by 20 miles over Café Joyeux, Amaris is in a favorable position. Those further east are finding it harder in the light airs. It was odd yesterday evening. The wind turned and strengthened from the west to 20 knots, and we had good speeds under Jenica throughout the night, confirmed Enibau. We were a good knot faster than the rest of the fleet. The wind should come around for the leading boats, and spinnakers will be hoisted with a jibe required to reach Madeira. It's not easy with the swell, but these are decent sailing conditions, said Enibau. Le Galet, de la Haye has set sail again from Cascais 230 miles behind, but they remain optimistic, as there are still 3,000 miles to sail. The ETA for the Class 40 monohulls is logged around the 22nd of November. Thibaut Vauchel-Camus and Quentin Vlamink certainly know what they are doing, extending their lead over the two chasing Ocean 50 boats. First out of the ridge of high pressure, Solidaris en Peloton is ahead of Viabilis and Realites, who are now a good 100 miles behind. The dive down to Cape Verde should be fast. Thibaut Vauchel-Camus, we are trying to stay on the tack that will take us to the Cape Verde waypoint. We are a long way from the Canaries, so shouldn't be in the wind shadow. The trade winds are light to moderate 17 to 18 knots for the moment. We are under full mainsail, Big Jenica, J2. 120 miles behind, Ultims had a good 24 hours. Moving off to the east at the latitude of Gibraltar, Fabrice Cahic and Aymeric Chapelier found more wind, and it was more northerly. They have overtaken Viabilis, Pierre Quiroga and Ronan Troussart. A jibing duel to Cape Verde is likely. The fleet should get there by tomorrow evening, before turning their bows towards Martinique in a light trade wind. The ETA for the Ocean 50 boats now is the 17th of November.
Salut à tous à bord d'Ipsa, tout va bien à bord, on est dans la pétanque, mais on est content, on recommence un peu à manger et à vivre, c'est une bonne nouvelle, et bon, on est très content et ok.
Bah, on ne se plaint pas, on a eu des jours difficiles avant, donc un petit peu de repos, de méditer c'est bien, mais on espère que ça va pas durer longtemps et que le vent il va rentrer.
Ciao.
Ciao les gars.
Merci
Ciao.
à tous. Et bon, pour le moment, oui, le vent il n'est pas encore rentré. Ciao.
Ouais.
Alors, il est jour 3. Regardez cette pomme. Je pense que nos corps ressemblent un petit peu la pomme qui a vécu les derniers 2 jours avec nous. C'est à fou. Plutôt bien pour nous. Là, on a eu quelques nuages aujourd'hui, qui fait que c'était un peu moins facile. Mais là, on a un peu moins de vent. Ça tape encore, on est toujours prêt. On a le soleil, donc c'est plutôt sympa. Tu vas bien sur le bateau, que des tout petits bobos, donc c'est très bien. Et on profite de cette transat. À bientôt. Je vais manger la pomme.
Salut les amis. Bon bah, il y a du soleil. C'est la première fois de la course. Petit café. Première fois de la course aussi. Oh, ça bouge un peu. Ça bouge un peu mais ça tape moins.
mer est vachement plus calme. Voilà, on est au près, quand même. Mais c'est plus calme, il y a 15 nœuds de vent, franchement ça glisse. Bon Loïs, attendez, je vois parce que... C'est dur à faire, faut pas gâcher. Je sais pas que pour le faire, c'est pas simple quand même. Et Loïs, peut-être le voir, mais... Ça dort? Ah non, ça dort pas. Monte ta tête. Eh là, ça dort pas. T'es en train? Ah, je t'ai réveillé peut-être. Un petit chat.
Ah, je suis mieux que Best Western.
Ouais. Il a bien compris. Allez, salut les amis. Oh putain, je me casse la gueule.